So I am on here today to explain to everybody what does flat rate at a shop, flat labor rate at a shop means. Everybody gets that really confused when they see flat labor rate $100. I'm just gonna throw $100, $100 an hour, and a lot of people think that when they see flat labor rate $100 per hour, a lot of people have a misunderstanding thinking that that's what they're going to charge you to work on your car, and that is not true. A lot of people have a total misunderstanding. They'd be thinking, well, if they work on my car for 5 hours, that means they're going to charge me for $500. Are they going to charge me this? How long is my car going to take? Are they going to keep it overnight to keep charging me per the $100 an hour? And that's not how in the automotive world works. Like, many shops do not charge by the hour, meaning by the clock hour. They charge by the amount of time it takes to remove and replace that part, or to diagnose. They have what's called a time. And the way that works is very simple. It's very easy. So let's go with $100 flat rate, like it says labor, right? So let's say you're going to take your car in there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to turn it around. Okay, so let's say I go in there into a shop and they find out that my alternator's bad. My alternator's right here, as you can see. And what they're going to do is, most shops, like Pep Boys, Firestone, the dealer's the one who came up with this, Just Tires, and a lot of franchises, and most independent shop go by what's called a Mitchell Labor Guide. And what that Mitchell Labor Guide is, it shows how long it takes to remove and replace that part. So what they do is that they have a mechanic practice on that car a few times to remove and replace. So let's say, for example, in 2004, when my truck came out, this alternator right here, nothing wrong with it, but what they're going to do is they're going to time a mechanic. They're going to let him practice on how to remove it and replace it. He's going to take his normal time. He's not going to rush it. He's not going to take his sweet time. He's going to take a normal time. So let's say it takes him an hour to remove and replace this alternator. So that's what's going to happen. So if it takes him an hour, that's how it's going to go into the books. So when they look up my truck and it says, okay, sir, it takes one hour to remove your alternator, so the flat rate is $100 per hour, so we're only going to charge you an hour, because they're going by the book. Anybody can look up that book. As a matter of fact, it's even online now. It tells you how long it takes to remove and replace a part or fix a certain thing on your vehicle. So they're going to charge me $100. Now, let's say mechanic A, well, there's no other B or C's, but mechanic A, let's say he gets paid $20 by an hour. Now, that's by the amount of work that he does within a clock hour. Is everybody still with me? So let's say I go up, I'm the manager, and I go up to the mechanic that says, okay, here, mechanic A, you got 1 hour to replace this alternator according to Mitchell Labor Guide. So the mechanic is going to remove and replace this alternator, and he has 1 hour. If he takes 10 minutes, they're still going to charge you the $100, because that's not his fault that the mechanic can do it in less than an hour. If he takes more than an hour to remove and replace that alternator, the shop should not, remember what I said, should not charge you no more past that hour. If he takes 2 hours removing his part for whatever reason, rusted bolts, doesn't have the right tool, whatever the case is, that's his fault. And he's only going to get paid $20 for that 1 hour on that alternator. So if he does it in 5 minutes, he just made an hour in 5 minutes. If he takes an hour and a half, he only gets paid for that hour. They don't charge you by how long the mechanic takes to remove and replace this part right here. Every vehicle is different. Every make and model is different. My alternator happens to be up here. I doubted that it calls it for an hour, but just giving you examples, some are on the bottom, some are on the other side. It depends on what it is. Same thing goes with a battery. So that's how a mechanic shop works. A lot of people think that, oh my God, they're going to charge me. I go look up there, it looks like $100 per hour. They're going to charge me by the hour. When I know that part doesn't take that long, blah, blah, isn't that? And that's just how it works. A lot of people have a total misunderstanding on flat labor rate, $100 per hour. And that's not really the customer's fault either, because as they put it on the wall, it could be misinterpreted by the outside saying, oh my God. So that's how a flat labor rate works at most shops. And you can always request to find out how long it takes to remove and replace that part. So if you go to a shop and say, okay, how much for my alternator on my 2004 Chevy Suburban, and they tell you, okay, it's going to take 1 hour, and you kind of scratch your head, you can look online, or you can request to look at their Mitchell Labor Guide, which is most likely in their computer, or they have a book on the side, just in case. They should show you. Once they showed you, that's it. If the mechanic takes 5 minutes and you got your car in 15 minutes, that's not the mechanic's fault. He just happened to be fast. But if it takes an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, they should not charge you no more than that 1 hour flat rate, because that's not your fault that the mechanic's taking forever. According to the book, it should only take 1 hour to do the alternator. Everybody with me? So a lot of people do have a misunderstanding. So the mechanic is racing against the clock. So if he finishes that in 5 minutes, the alternator, which costs an hour, he can jump onto another vehicle and make more money. So they don't really get paid by the clock hour. They get paid by the amount of work that it takes to remove and replace or fix that part. And that's how they get paid. As far as I remember, when I did it for 14 years before I gave it up in 2006, I was always making more than 40 hours per work in less than the 40-hour clock period. So if I did 50 hours worth of work and I only clocked in 40, I get paid for 50 hours worth of work. If I did 30 hours worth of work in a 40-hour period, I only get paid 30 hours. So everybody gets me. So that's how it works. That's how flat labor rate shop works. It looks like they're ripping you off because the way it says it on the wall is totally misinterpreted by the outside people that don't realize why it says flat labor rate, certain amount per hour. It's not that they're going to charge you how long it takes. It's by what they go by the books, and that's what they charge. Body shops do the same thing. Body shop charge by the amount of time it takes to remove and replace that part, fix that part, pull out that dent, paint that scratch. They do the same thing. They go by the same way. So again, to remove and replace a part, they go by the book, and they shouldn't charge you no more than that. And if a mechanic takes faster, if he repairs it faster than what you think, that's not his fault. He's fast. He happens to be fast. When they train the mechanic to remove and replace the part, he took his normal time. So a lot of people have a misunderstanding they're being ripped off, and they're not being ripped off. It's just the way it works, and everybody on the outside has a total misunderstanding. I did it for 14 years. I've seen the ups and downs. I've seen how people thought we were ripping them off, or how they misinterpret that sign on the wall. Now, when I gave it up, we were charging 70 labor flat rate per hour. Now it's like 120, I think it is. I don't know. I mostly do most of my work myself. So that's it. And I just wanted to educate you guys on how the automotive business works when it comes to the flat labor per hour works. And that's how it works. And I will do more videos about automotive, and educate everybody.